Chapter 1. The Power of Thought and Affirmations. When Paramahansa Yogananda spoke of the human mind, he often reminded his listeners that we live in a universe far more malleable than we imagine. He would say that thought is not a shadowy, insubstantial thing, it is energy. It is real, it is a force. Every thought we think vibrates outward, shaping our consciousness, influencing the world around us, and attracting conditions that harmonize with its vibration. Most people drift through life unaware of this creative power. They allow the mind to repeat old patterns, conditioned by fears, worries, and limitations. And then they wonder why circumstances mirror those very patterns back to them. Yogananda taught that nothing in life is accidental. Thought is causative. The outer world is, in many ways, a mirror of our inner one. To truly live, we must learn to master this inner landscape. He explained that thought is like a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. If the seed is one of fear or self-doubt, it grows into experiences that reflect fear. If it is one of courage, of joy, of trust in divine abundance, then life blossoms in that direction. The first step toward self-mastery, then, is to realize that we are not victims of fate. We are shapers of destiny. But how do we begin to transform the torrent of thoughts that pass through the mind each day? Yogananda emphasized the practice of affirmations. At first glance, affirmations might seem like simple words spoken into the air, but he revealed their deeper science. An affirmation, spoken with concentration and faith, is not merely a sentence. It is a command to the subconscious mind, a deliberate redirection of energy. When repeated with conviction, affirmations rewire the deep patterns of thought. They are like streams of light piercing the darkness of doubt. The subconscious, which quietly governs much of our behavior and perception, does not resist repetition. It accepts what is given to it. And once it accepts a new idea, it begins to reshape the currents of thought and energy in line with that belief. Yogananda encouraged his students to affirm with intensity, with feeling, and above all, with the understanding that they are not merely speaking to themselves, but calling upon the deeper power of the soul. For example, instead of saying, "I hope I can be strong," Yogananda guided them to affirm with certainty, "I am strong, I am fearless, or I am infinite in my divine nature." The tone, the concentration, and the willpower behind the words matter far more than their length. Even a few sentences, repeated daily with focus, can bring remarkable transformation. Science today confirms what Yogananda taught decades ago, that the brain rewires itself through repeated thought. Neural pathways strengthen with repetition. What we dwell upon becomes easier to think again, until it becomes second nature. In this way, affirmations are not wishful thinking, they are a systematic training of the mind. But Yogananda added a further dimension: alignment with divine power. When we affirm, we are not simply relying on human will. We are attuning ourselves with the infinite creative source from which all energy flows. Words infused with faith are magnets, drawing divine assistance. He once remarked that God is the eternal affirmation, the cosmic yes behind creation. When we affirm truth, we bring ourselves into harmony with that creative yes. This is why he emphasized affirmations not only for outer success but for inner transformation. Affirmations for peace, for joy, for wisdom, for love, these align the heart and mind with the higher self. The material results may follow, but the deeper gift is the expansion of consciousness. Let us imagine for a moment how this works in daily life. Suppose a person wakes each morning with the thought, "I am tired. Life is difficult. Nothing ever works out." Even without saying it aloud, these thoughts are affirmations, negative ones. They instruct the subconscious to expect difficulty. They reinforce the feeling of heaviness. Now, imagine another person who rises each morning, sits quietly for a few moments, and says with feeling, "I am awake and alive in the spirit. I welcome this day with joy. Strength and peace flow through me." Even if the outer circumstances are the same, this person begins the day in a different vibration. And life responds accordingly. Yogananda insisted that this was not superstition but law. Energy follows thought. The universe is responsive, alive, conscious. It reflects the vibration we broadcast. Of course, doubts arise. Many students asked him, "But what if I don't believe the affirmation at first? What if it feels false?" He answered, "That is exactly why you practice. The mind has been trained for years, sometimes lifetimes, to think in certain patterns. It will not change overnight, but repetition, especially when joined with deep concentration, gradually dissolves resistance. Even if the mind protests, the subconscious is listening. Over time, it begins to obey. He compared it to learning to play an instrument. At first, the notes are awkward, but with practice, harmony emerges. Affirmations are the same, a training of consciousness until harmony with truth is restored. One of his most beloved affirmations was, "I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. The divine light of joy flows through me. I am bliss." Such words, when repeated with devotion, awaken the soul's memory of its divine nature. Notice how the language does not plead. It does not beg for joy or light in the future. It declares joy and light as present realities. That is the key. Affirmations must be spoken in the language of now. To say, "I will be happy someday," places happiness in the distance. To affirm, "I am joy," now, anchors the consciousness in the truth of the moment. This teaching connects to one of Yogananda's most powerful insights, that the kingdom of heaven is not far away, it is within us, awaiting recognition. Affirmations are one of the keys that unlock that inner kingdom. They remind the mind of what the soul already knows. In truth, every moment of life is an affirmation. Each thought, each word, each belief declares something to the universe. The question is, are we affirming fear or faith? Or limitation or possibility? By becoming conscious of this, we reclaim the power of choice. And so, Yogananda would encourage us, choose carefully. Affirm nobly. Affirm with courage. Affirm with joy. For in doing so, we align ourselves with the eternal affirmation of God, and life begins to unfold not as a series of accidents, but as a conscious expression of truth. This is the starting point of self-realization. To recognize that thought is creative, that affirmations are powerful, and that within each of us lies the capacity to shape life in harmony with divine law. From this awareness, we are ready to understand deeper truths about karma, about reincarnation, and the eternal journey of the soul. Chapter 2. The Law of Karma and Reincarnation. Once we begin to understand the creative power of thought, a natural question arises. Why is life as it is? Why are some born into ease while others face hardship? Why does one person seem blessed with opportunity while another struggles at every step? To this, Paramahansa Yogananda offered a timeless answer: the law of karma. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect operating in the moral and spiritual dimensions of life. Just as gravity governs the physical world, karma governs the unfolding of experience. Every thought, word, and deed plants a seed, and each seed bears fruit in time. This is not punishment, nor is it reward. It is law. Karma is impersonal, as impartial as mathematics. If we place our hand in fire, it is burned. If we plant mango seeds, we harvest mangoes, not lemons. In the same way, loving actions produce harmonious results, while selfish or harmful actions bring suffering. The universe reflects back to us what we set in motion. But Yogananda emphasized a liberating point. Karma is not fatalistic. It is not destiny carved in stone. Just as a farmer can plant new seeds in fresh soil, we too can create new karma by conscious choice. Affirmations, meditation, and right living sow different causes, which in time blossom into better circumstances. Reincarnation naturally follows from this law. The soul is eternal, but each body is temporary, a garment worn for a time. When the body falls away, the soul continues, carrying with it the lessons and unfinished karma of its past lives. Then, in a new birth, those seeds of karma unfold as the opportunities and challenges of the present life. This explains why children are born with vastly different natures. One is musical, another mathematical, another spiritual. These gifts are not accidents. They are carried forward from earlier incarnations, the fruits of effort made long ago. Likewise, challenges we face are not arbitrary. They are opportunities for growth, invitations to resolve old debts and rise into greater wisdom. Yogananda often said that reincarnation is God's mercy. One lifetime is rarely enough to learn all the lessons the soul must master. The law of rebirth gives us another chance, and another, until at last we awaken fully to who we are. He compared it to school. If we fail a grade, we return until the lesson is passed. Karma is the curriculum, and life is the classroom. But what of freedom? If past actions bind us, is life nothing more than a prison? Here, Yogananda was emphatic. Karma binds only until we awaken. Awareness itself begins to untie the knots of fate. Meditation, in particular, is the science of transcending karma. When the mind withdraws from restless thought and attunes with the soul, we touch the level of being that is untouched by past action. We discover the eternal self, beyond karma. From that higher vantage point, we can face life differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we begin to ask, "What can I learn from this?" We stop resisting karma and start cooperating with it. Even painful circumstances are seen as teachers. In this attitude lies tremendous freedom. For when we accept responsibility, we discover our power to change. Yogananda illustrated this with a simple story. Imagine two men bound by ropes. One struggles against the ropes, cursing his fate, exhausting himself but getting nowhere. The other calmly studies the knots and begins to untie them. The second man is free far sooner, not because his ropes were weaker, but because his attitude was wiser. So it is with karma. The more we complain, the tighter the knots feel. But when we face them with patience and wisdom, they loosen. Another question arises. If karma is so vast, stretching across many lifetimes, how can we ever be free? Here lies the promise of self-realization. The soul, at its core, is untouched by karma. Karma belongs to the body and the mind, not to the spirit itself. Through deep meditation, through communion with God, we rise to that level of being. And in that state of union, the light of divine grace burns away the seeds of past karma, just as a fire burns dry grass. This is why saints and masters are free. They may still act in the world, but their actions are no longer binding. They act without ego, without attachment, flowing as pure instruments of the divine. And for their disciples, their blessings can also lessen the burden of karma. To draw near to such a soul is to feel one's own knots begin to loosen. Reincarnation also gives us comfort in times of loss. When a loved one passes away, it is not an end but a transition. The soul moves on to another plane, carrying its love and its essence intact. Bonds of true love never die. They are carried from life to life, often reuniting us again with those souls dearest to us. Yogananda reassured his students that nothing good is ever lost. Every act of kindness, every moment of growth, every sincere prayer is preserved in the treasury of the soul. And when the time is ripe, it blossoms into visible form, perhaps in this life, perhaps in another. At the same time, he urged us not to delay our awakening. Why wait for another life when the opportunity is here and now? Karma may be vast, but the power of the soul is greater. Even a little effort in the present moment can shift the direction of lifetimes. So we return to the truth we discovered in the first chapter. Thought is creative. Each thought plants seeds of karma. Affirmations, meditation, love, and service are ways to plant noble seeds. And the harvest of such seeds is freedom, joy, and wisdom. This understanding of karma and reincarnation is not meant to make us fatalistic. It is meant to empower us. We see that life is just, even when it seems unfair. We see that challenges are not punishments but opportunities. We see that no effort is wasted, and that love once given is never lost. With this insight, we live differently. We act with greater care, knowing every choice matters. We respond to hardship with patience, knowing there is meaning in it. We look upon others with compassion, realizing they too are struggling with their unseen karmic burdens. And most of all, we dedicate ourselves to practices that free the soul, knowing that liberation is possible. Thus, karma and reincarnation are not grim doctrines of fate. They are reminders of the soul's vast journey, of the justice woven into the fabric of life, and of the great promise that through wisdom, effort, and divine grace, we can one day transcend the wheel of birth and death and awaken to eternal freedom. Chapter 3. Meditation and Stillness. When we understand the law of karma and the soul's long journey through reincarnation, a deeper yearning awakens within us. We begin to see that life is not merely about external circumstances, wealth, health, success, or failure, but about the inner state from which we live. And if karma shapes the outer world, where can we find freedom? Yogananda's answer was clear: in meditation. Meditation is not just a practice, it is the science of returning to the still center of being, where the soul rests in freedom, untouched by the restless waves of thought and past action. In daily life, the mind is like a lake stirred by wind. Waves of desire, fear, memory, and imagination ripple across its surface, making it impossible to see clearly. But when the winds of restlessness are stilled, the waters of consciousness become clear and calm. Then we see the reflection of the soul, shining with divine light. Yogananda often described meditation as the most practical of arts. While the world seeks peace in possessions or circumstances, meditation reveals that peace is already within. No matter what storms rage in the outer world, there exists an inner sanctuary where silence reigns. That silence is not empty, it is alive with joy, with love, with God's presence. In the stillness of meditation, we transcend karma. For karma belongs to the mind and body, and meditation lifts us into the realm of spirit. In that state, the soul realizes its eternal nature, untouched, free, blissful. This is why Yogananda called meditation the highest form of activity, the way to enter into direct contact with the divine. But how do we begin? The first step, he said, is to quiet the body. Sit upright, relaxed yet alert, and allow the breath to grow calm. For the breath and the mind are deeply linked. When the mind is restless, the breath is restless. When the mind is calm, the breath slows. By consciously observing and calming the breath, we begin to quiet the mind. Yogananda taught specific techniques of pranayama, control of life energy through breath, as a preparation for deep meditation. He explained that each breath ties the soul to the body. With every inhalation and exhalation, the life force is pulled outward into the senses, binding us to the world of matter. But when we calm the breath, the life force withdraws inward, toward the spine and brain, awakening higher consciousness. Even without advanced techniques, however, the practice of simple stillness is powerful. Sit in silence, observe the breath, let thoughts pass like clouds across the sky. Do not cling to them, do not fight them. Just return again and again to the quiet witness within. Over time, the waves subside, and the presence of peace emerges. That peace, Yogananda emphasized, is not imagination. It is a tangible experience, as real as any sense perception. In fact, it is more real, for it reveals the foundation beneath all perceptions. Many seekers at first wonder, am I just imagining this calm? Is this joy real? He assured them that the joy of meditation is not of the imagination. It is the soul's own nature shining through. And this is the great discovery, that joy is independent of circumstances. Normally, we tie happiness to conditions. I will be happy when I have this job, this relationship, this achievement. But in meditation, happiness arises without cause. It wells up from within, a quiet bliss that needs no reason. This is the proof of the soul's divinity. For God is ever new joy, and the soul, being a spark of God, shares that joy by nature. Meditation also awakens intuition. The ordinary mind, bound to logic and the senses, sees only fragments. But intuition perceives truth directly, as a whole. In stillness, when thoughts grow quiet, intuition arises naturally. Decisions become clearer, insights flow, guidance is felt from within. This is why Yogananda often told his students, when you do not know what to do, go into silence. Be still, and the answer will come. In this way, meditation transforms daily life. It is not escapism, not withdrawal from duty. Rather, it gives us a higher vantage point from which to live. A person who meditates regularly carries peace into their work, patience into their relationships, and courage into their challenges. They act not as slaves of moods and desires but as masters of themselves. Yogananda described this mastery beautifully. By the practice of meditation, you will find that you are carrying within your heart a portable paradise. Wherever you go, that inner sanctuary is with you. Success may come, failure may come, but your joy does not depend on it. You are anchored in something deeper. And yet, meditation is not always easy. At first, the mind rebels. It leaps from thought to thought, restless as a monkey. Many students confessed their struggles. My mind won't stay still. I cannot meditate. Yogananda would smile and reassure them. Do not be discouraged. Even a little practice will show results. Each time you bring your mind back to God, you have won a victory. Progress in meditation is gradual, like learning to play an instrument or training the body in exercise. The key is regularity. A few minutes each morning and evening, practiced with sincerity, accumulate into deep change. Over weeks and months, the mind grows calmer, the heart more open, the presence of peace more tangible. He also reminded his students not to chase after experiences. Visions, lights, sounds, these may come, but they are not the goal. The true goal is union with God, and that comes in the stillness of the heart, in the expansion of consciousness into joy. By keeping the focus on communion, rather than on phenomena, we avoid distraction and ego. As meditation deepens, a great paradox unfolds. We discover that the silence is not empty, but full. The stillness is not barren, but alive. In the absence of restless thought, something vast emerges, an infinite presence, intimate yet boundless. Some feel it as peace, others as love, others as light. Yogananda explained that these are all expressions of the one reality, spirit. Ultimately, meditation leads us to self-realization. The direct experience that we are not the body, not the restless mind, but the soul, eternal and one with the divine. In that realization, karma loosens, fear dissolves, love overflows. We become free, not only in meditation but in every moment of life. Chapter 4. Divine Love and Overcoming Fear. In the stillness of meditation, when the waves of thought grow calm, something profound begins to awaken. It is not only peace, not only joy, but love. Paramahansa Yogananda often said that the nature of God is love, and the nature of the soul, being a spark of God, is also love. To know God is to awaken to this love, and to share it freely with all beings. Yet love, in its highest sense, is often misunderstood. In ordinary life, we think of love as attachment, as affection for those who please us, as desire for those who fulfill us. But Yogananda pointed out that such love is fragile, easily shaken by change. True divine love is unconditional. It is not based on what another gives or does, but on the recognition of their soul. It is expansive, universal, without boundary. It is the love that shines in the eyes of saints, a love that embraces all as brothers and sisters in God. This divine love is not cold or abstract. It is warm, personal, overflowing. It makes the heart tender, forgiving, compassionate. It gives strength to serve, courage to endure, and joy to share. In fact, Yogananda taught that divine love is the surest proof of spiritual progress. You may meditate for hours, study scriptures for years, but if love does not blossom in your heart, the goal is not yet reached. And yet, for many people, the heart is not free to love fully. Why? Because fear stands in the way. Fear is the great enemy of love. Fear makes us contract, defend, protect. It whispers that we must guard ourselves against loss, against rejection, against pain. In doing so, it walls us off from the very flow of love that would set us free. Yogananda knew that fear is one of humanity's deepest chains. Fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of illness, fear of death, the list is endless. At the root of it all lies the fear of separation, the belief that we are alone, vulnerable in a hostile universe. But he reminded us that this belief is false. The soul is never alone, never helpless, never cut off. It is one with the infinite power of spirit. To awaken to this truth is to dissolve fear at its root. How do we begin to overcome fear? The first step is recognition. Fear thrives in the shadows, unexamined. When we bring it into the light of awareness, we see it for what it is. A thought, a vibration, not an unchangeable reality. Yogananda advised his students never to surrender passively to fear, but to confront it with courage. He encouraged the use of affirmations. I am fearless. I am strong. I am a child of God. Nothing can harm my eternal soul. Fear, he explained, cannot stand long before such affirmations when spoken with faith. Just as darkness vanishes when a lamp is lit, fear dissolves when love and courage are awakened. Meditation also plays a vital role. In the silence of deep communion, we feel the presence of God as peace and protection. The more we rest in that presence, the more we realize that nothing in the world has power over the soul. Illness may touch the body, loss may touch possessions, but the soul remains untouched. This realization gives rise to fearlessness. It is not reckless bravado, but the calm confidence born of inner union. And here is the mystery. As fear fades, love flows more freely. When we no longer cling to self-protection, our heart opens. We discover that love is not something we must create, it is our nature. Fear covered it, like clouds obscuring the sun, but the sun was always shining. Remove the clouds, and love radiates effortlessly. Yogananda taught practical ways to cultivate this love. Begin by sending thoughts of kindness to those around you. In meditation, visualize light flowing from your heart to others. Bless them silently. Over time, this practice expands your awareness beyond the little self. You begin to feel yourself as part of a greater whole, connected to all. This is divine love in action. He also warned that love must be balanced with wisdom. True love does not mean weak indulgence. It does not mean allowing others to harm themselves or us in the name of kindness. Divine love is strong, clear, discerning. It wishes the highest good for all, not merely the satisfaction of temporary desires. Such love may sometimes appear stern, but its motive is always compassion. Perhaps the greatest fear most people face is the fear of death. Yogananda often addressed this directly. He reassured his students that death is not an end but a doorway, a transition into the astral worlds. The soul cannot die. It merely lays aside the body, as a man lays aside a worn-out coat. When this truth is realized, death loses its terror. Life is seen as a continuum, love as eternal. He told the story of a disciple who feared losing his family. Yogananda reminded him, "Those whom you love you will never lose. True love binds souls together across lifetimes. You will meet them again and again until, together, you merge in God." What greater comfort could there be? Love is stronger than death. Fear has no hold where love reigns. Thus, the path of divine love is also the path of fearlessness. To love fully, we must let go of fear. To overcome fear fully, we must awaken to love. They are two sides of the same coin, both pointing us back to the soul's oneness with God. Yogananda's own life was an embodiment of this truth. Those who met him spoke of the love that radiated from his eyes, a love that made each person feel uniquely seen and cherished. Yet he was also fearless, calm in adversity, unshaken by loss, confident in the protection of spirit. His presence was proof that love and fearlessness are not ideals for saints alone, but possibilities for every soul. In practical terms, we too can cultivate this. Each day, practice small acts of love, kind words, patience, forgiveness. Each day, confront small fears with courage, speak the truth kindly, take the step you've been avoiding, trust in divine support. Over time, these small steps accumulate. Love grows stronger, fear grows weaker. And as this happens, life itself changes. Relationships deepen, for they are no longer based on need but on giving. Challenges feel lighter, for fear no longer magnifies them. Joy flows more freely, for the heart is open. This is the transformation Yogananda promised. A life rooted in divine love, liberated from fear. When love becomes our nature, we see the world differently. We see strangers as friends we have yet to meet, difficulties as opportunities to give, even enemies as teachers. The whole world becomes a family, bound together in God. And in this vision, we glimpse the purpose of existence itself, to awaken to love, to live in love, to merge at last in the infinite ocean of divine love. Chapter 5. Self-realization as the goal of life. All of Yogananda's teachings, from the power of thought to the law of karma, from meditation to divine love, point toward one radiant summit: self-realization. This is the heart of his message, the purpose behind every practice, the destination of every seeker's journey. But what does self-realization mean? Yogananda defined it simply: the knowing, not just intellectually but through direct experience, that you are one with the infinite spirit. It is the realization that beneath the body, beneath the restless mind, you are the soul, eternal, unchanging, and inseparably united with God. For most people, life is lived outwardly. We identify with the body. I am tall, I am short, I am young, I am old. We identify with the personality. I am this profession, this nationality, this opinion. But these identities are like masks, temporary roles in a cosmic play. Self-realization is the moment we awaken to the actor behind the mask, the immortal soul. Yogananda emphasized that this is not a matter of belief but of direct perception. Belief may comfort us, but it does not free us. True freedom comes only when we experience our divinity. Just as no one can convince a thirsty man of the taste of water until he drinks, so no one can convince us of the soul's joy until we enter the stillness of meditation and drink of that bliss ourselves. Self-realization is not a distant goal meant for saints alone. It is the birthright of every soul. The journey may be long, but each step brings us closer. Every moment of stillness, every act of love, every affirmation of truth opens the inner door a little wider. And when that door swings fully open, the transformation is total. We discover that the joy we sought in possessions, achievements, or relationships was always within us. We realize that love does not come from others but flows from our own soul. We see that peace is not dependent on circumstances but on our connection to the divine. Yogananda described the experience of self-realization as entering a vast ocean of bliss. The little self dissolves, yet nothing is lost. Instead, we find ourselves expanded, infinite, one with all. It is as if a wave realizes it is not separate but part of the whole sea. The wave still moves, still plays upon the surface, but it knows its essence is the boundless ocean. This realization answers the deepest questions of life. Why are we here? To awaken to who we truly are. What is the purpose of suffering? To drive us inward, until we seek that eternal joy which cannot be taken away. What is death? Merely a passing shadow, for the soul is deathless. What is love? The recognition of our shared essence in God. Yogananda often reminded his students that self-realization is not selfish. To know oneself as spirit is to recognize the same spirit in all. Far from withdrawing us from the world, it fills us with greater compassion, for we see all beings as part of our own larger self. In this state, service becomes natural, kindness spontaneous, forgiveness effortless. For who would harm another when we see them as part of our own soul? To reach this realization, discipline is needed. Affirmations, meditation, devotion, selfless service, all are means to purify the heart and mind. Yet Yogananda reassured seekers that God is not a stern judge but the most loving of friends. He longs for our return more than we long for him. The moment we take one step toward him in sincerity, he takes 100 steps toward us. Grace is always present, waiting to uplift us. Self-realization also brings freedom from fear. When we know ourselves as eternal, what is there to fear? The body may age, possessions may change, but the soul remains untouched. Even death loses its sting. As Yogananda put it, you don't have to die to know what happens after death. In meditation, you can experience the eternal life of the soul now. Imagine the transformation of life when lived from this awareness. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, we anchor ourselves in inner joy. Instead of clinging to relationships in fear of loss, we love more freely, knowing love is eternal. Instead of resisting challenges, we see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of living as small, isolated selves, we live as radiant expressions of the infinite. This is why Yogananda called self-realization the universal religion. It transcends sects, rituals, and dogmas. Whether one calls the divine by the name of God, Spirit, Allah, Brahman, or simply love, the essence is the same. Religion, in its purest sense, is not about external forms but about inner experience. And the highest experience is to realize one's oneness with the divine. Yogananda foresaw a time when humanity, weary of division, would turn to this universal truth. He envisioned a world where people of every faith, every culture, every background would recognize themselves as children of one spirit. And he knew this unity would not come merely from outer agreements but from inner realization, one soul at a time. For you, the seeker, the path is clear. Begin where you are. Practice meditation daily. Use affirmations to guide your thoughts. Act with kindness. Serve others. Love without fear. Little by little, the clouds of ignorance will part, and the light of the soul will shine through. And when at last the great awakening comes, whether in this life or another, you will stand in the radiant truth of self-realization, knowing beyond doubt, I am not this body, I am not this restless mind, I am the immortal soul. I am one with the infinite spirit. I am ever free, ever joyful, ever new. This is the goal of life. This is the promise of Yogananda's teachings. And this is the journey we are all on, together, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment, returning to the divine home we never truly left.